Hello, everybody. Okay, perfect. Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Hope Friedman, and I am the writer of the Go-To Guide for Empowering Our Youth. This is my 4th webinar, and it's about leadership. First, I want to apologize for any background noises or anything you might hear around me. I am in my house, and it's a little bit loud here. So yeah, don't mind that if you hear any dog barking or anything. I'll try to be as fluid as possible, so it's more like a face-to-face interaction and not just me reading off of some note cards or a script. But it's a little bit hard at times, as some of them are direct quotes from the book itself. So it's, I'm gonna need sometimes it's gonna be a little bit wordy, and it's gonna be a little bit hard to eliminate that factor. But I'm trying as I go along to make it as comfortable. So I also want to say that if you have watched my past 3 videos, any of them, then you might want to skip to the information, which is about 20 minutes in. It's once I get past all the about me and the generic stuff that I say in every single video. I also want to mention briefly that this one, I'll talk about this later, but just to give you a little heads up, it is a little bit lengthy. It's not really an overview. It's more or less a book reading, without a little bit. I'll discuss it more, but it'll be a little bit long, about an hour. If you don't want to listen to it at all, I'd recommend skipping around in the video to find a part that you'd like to listen to, or go for yourself on Apple Books, find the book, and skip to the parts you want. But I'll talk more about how all of that works and why I like it. Okay. To start off, I'd like to take a moment to introduce myself and share a bit about the purpose of this video. As I mentioned earlier, my name is Hope Freeman. Right now, I'm a high school student juggling school life and various activities, including something very close to my heart, my involvement in Girl Scouts. For those of you who might not be familiar with Girl Scouts, it's an amazing organization, similar to Boy Scouts, if you know what that is. But Girl Scouts focuses on empowering young girls, helping us to develop independence, leadership skills, and confidence, and so many more. It's more than just earning badges or going on a few trips. It's about learning to be strong, capable individuals who support one another. And it's all about sisterhood, and that's one of the reasons why I just love it a lot. Now, in order to work towards the Gold Award, which is the highest honor a Girl Scout can earn, there's a process that begins with earning the Bronze and Silver Award first. But it's not always the most linear, though. There's other ways to achieve it, and I'll go into more detail about how that all works in a little bit later on. But for now, the key takeaway is that the Gold Award is a significant achievement and the main inspiration behind the project I'm sharing with you. Today. Beyond Girl Scouts, I want to share a little bit more about me, about who I am and what motivates me. One of my biggest passions is helping my community in various ways. I believe in making a positive impact wherever I can, and often try to kill 2 birds with one stone by combining my interests. For example, I have a website called equalmedicalaccess.org, which is dedicated to advocating for equal access to healthcare. This is another cause I deeply care about, and I'd be thrilled if you took a moment to visit the site and maybe even show some support if it resonates with you. Aside from that, I'm also actively involved in my school community. I enjoy tutoring my peers and participating in honor societies. Volunteering and giving back to those around me is something I truly find rewarding. And of course, last but not least, my Girl Scout community is a core part of me. It's not only a place where I strive to continue and make a difference, but it's also a strong support system I can rely on. So that's a bit about me and why I'm here today. I'm excited to share more about my Gold Award journey with you, and I hope it inspires you in some way, more or less. So let's get into some technical stuff. Over here in the corner, I have a cover of for my book and how it will look when you search it up. It's currently on Apple Books for free, and hopefully in the future it'll show up on some more prominent sites, maybe Barnes & Noble or some sites like that. For the book, I wrote down some important factors for writing the book and features about it. First, my main goal was always empowering children. But what's special about my book is that it's not directed towards the kids. It's directed towards their parents, but also just educators and people who work with kids. Also, children themselves or older children who want to learn about younger children. You may also say that there's guides all over the internet. Why would I want to read this specific one? And well, yeah, that's true. This was written with children in mind because I am a child. I tried using my experiences to guide the book, which is one of the main reasons why I think it's special and makes it stand out. Which is also why in every chapter I wrote about my thoughts and opinions so that adults can understand from the eyes of a child what it's like to experience these. And how it feels to learn about it from my perspective. But I also want to say that I am a teenager. I'm older, and throughout the book I did include some other perspectives from some younger people in my community that was willing to help and share their experiences around 9 and 10, and then some even older people like my parents' age, or even some sort of some like grandparents' age. So I made sure to include that. Next, I want to embrace emotions. As I wrote in the introduction, this was one of the first lines I wrote. In the introduction, it was, quote, "This book isn't here to force traits onto children. It's here to bring out what's already inside them and let it shine." And that is truly my intention. Throughout writing this whole book, that was my intention. I always had that in the back of my mind. All kids have emotions, and I want to show adults how to bring it out of them. The next is also connected because it's not about forcing it, but just like in school, there needs to be a basis of where they start. For example, I was talking to my cousin. He's around 9. He was telling me how he didn't know the difference between empathy and sympathy. In this case, I would be teaching him the difference and showing him the correct ways to show it. Without that, then they would really have no idea, no basis. So it's very important. My next bullet is inclusivity, and the other one is accessibility. These go hand in hand. My book can be used for all types of people, and it's also not just for parents. Like I said before, it's for educators, Girl Scout leaders, and for people who want to learn more about kids and how they learn. And also just people who work with kids in general. And then the accessibility part is because it's on Apple Books, I believe it makes it a lot more accessible because nowadays I feel like everyone owns some sort of Apple products. But I do hope to make it as a PDF in the future so anyone who has access to the internet can use it. But even without the internet, I am trying to take that even one step farther and expand it to local libraries. But if you're here listening to this now, it means you're in the right place. You have found my YouTube videos, and you can listen to almost the whole thing for free. But if you did want to read the whole book and you don't have access to it, feel free to email, and I will send you a PDF immediately. My email is in the caption below. So, yeah. I also do want to quickly say that my book is on Apple Books and it's free, which was always my intention. I always wanted to be free because I'll talk about it more later within my Girl Scout category a slide that I have on here. But for my Gold Award, you're not supposed to make it a fundraiser type of thing. You're not supposed to I'm not going to say that specifically. We'll talk about it more later, but for this book, it was meant to be free. It's always meant to be free. It's meant to be a nice resource for parents that doesn't cost extra money. It's not something, it's something special to me because it has special resources, my opinions, you wouldn't find anywhere else. But it also has everything in one place. If you wanted to learn just about kindness, you could find in that chapter of about 10 pages a bunch of good books, a bunch of good websites, places to get workbooks, my opinions, which you won't find anywhere else, and other very specific things you'll only find in this book. So I think it's important to check it out in some way. There are, of course, my book is not the only resource, but because it's all in one place, it's something I've worked towards and something I've been using for this specific reason. It's definitely something to check out if you want to learn more about a specific trait. I also want to mention, like I think I said it on the first slide, if this book has always been something that you're not supposed to read from cover to cover. If you wanted to, that's great. I would love that too. It's a different way of reading it. But I prefer if you said, well, what does my child want, or whatever the child is at the moment, maybe your student or your kid you babysit, what do I want them to learn about? Do I want them to learn about honesty? Did I have a specific encounter that I want to improve upon? And if the answer is yes, then just go to the honesty section. Do I want to just read my class a book? Maybe I'll just go to this specific chapter and look at just books or just resources. And that's what I think is so special, because it's not just linear. It's not one chapter you have to read, one chapter you have to read. You can just skip around freely. That's what I want you to do. Okay. So in the book, I go through 8 main chapters. Of course, I started and ended with an introduction and conclusion, but as for the traits, I talked about it's as follows. So kindness, confidence, empathy/sympathy, leadership, being an upstander, communication, gratitude, and honesty. Personally, my favorite in terms of writing was the leadership, because it's always been a pretty big thing for me. But it also similarly goes with being an upstander. So they're both really my favorite in terms of showing it, but also writing about it. Especially being a Girl Scout, those traits have always been ingrained in me since I was little, and something I always ask myself to be and keep in the back of my mind whenever I'm talking to someone or in a situation. In addition, in order to be a leader, you need to possess some sort of upstander qualities too. And in order to be an upstander, you definitely need to be a leader. So they really go hand in hand, and were my favorite to talk about and share my experiences on, which is why I'm so excited to share this specific presentation on leadership, because it is something very close to my heart. So you'll see during my personal thoughts how much I really put towards it. Next, I want to briefly talk about what's discussed in each video I'll be making. These aren't really live, so I don't know if it's still considered a webinar, but that's what I consider it. So each day I will have a new chapter discussed. This is true, except not really each day. As I said before, this is my 4th webinar, and it hasn't been filmed in day order, but instead it's different times. So I believe my first 2 videos were posted about a month or 2 ago. I posted the 3rd webinar, I think, yesterday. So I'm rolling out with new videos every day but I might post the next video in a month or so. We'll see how the process is going. But nonetheless, each video will focus on a single chapter of the book, like how today's chapter is chapter 4, leadership, and the past video was on sympathy and empathy, which is chapter 3, and so on. So my next video will be on being an upstander, I believe, because that's chapter 5. And so if I don't come out with the video you want. So I didn't come out with honesty yet, and you really want to listen, you really want to learn about honesty, I would highly recommend just checking out my book on Apple Books. And if you don't have accessibility to, if you don't have that accessible to you, email me and I'll send you the PDF. And you can easily look on without my, with a video from me. But it should come out in less than a month, all of the videos. So next, I will do an overview and book reading. So I won't be doing a full reading of the book, and I did that on purpose. So if you want to read in more detail, or you want to look for more examples for certain subcategories, like activities or books, I left some of those in the book for you to check out. And it's really easy to access and read more on your own time. This will be, I do want to give a little heads up, this will be a little lengthy. So it should be around an hour. I think I said it before, but if you just want to watch a certain part, go ahead. Good. So I just recommend skipping around. I've said I don't want to repeat myself too much, but definitely if you just want to learn about something specific, skip to it. Or go to the book. Talk about the writing process and my why. Towards the end, I will go through my little tips and tricks and process using Apple Books as a first-time writer/author. I'm not an expert at all, but I like to throw in some of my experience to make it easier for people just like me looking for some help. So towards the end, I have some questions about how long it took me, how I published it, maybe even a little bit about my why, even though you kind of know my why, but I want to talk about that a little bit more later too. Talk about Girl Scouts and my overall journey. Girl Scouts has been a big part of my journey, and the main reason for writing this book is my Girl Scouts and my Gold Award, and I just want to talk about it and what it means to me, as well as how I got to where I am now, and the gold process in general, and how to get to where I'm at for other people. And I love talking about Girl Scouts in any context. I'm not an expert either at it. I can just share from my experiences, and I have a lot, so I'll get into that more later. And last, I will be talking about fun personal stories throughout the presentation. In order for it not to be super boring, I love to throw in a little flair and spice and show some interesting stories throughout the way, so it's not as boring, but also so you can get to know me better and get to know my book, which is why I'm making this webinar. So hopefully it does its job and you know a little bit more about me in the next 40 minutes or so. Okay. As I said, today's chapter is leadership. This is taken directly from my book as the first line of the chapter. It says that the definition of leadership is inspiring and guiding others towards a common goal. This was taken from the Oxford Dictionary, I want to say. And if you go through and read my book, or you watch other videos, you'll notice that I wrote other people's definitions from friends and family, and really anyone who wanted to help me out during the process. And I think it's important to find some people to rely on and help during the process, which I'll discuss more later. But I firmly believe that a 5-year-old learns a lot different than a 50-year-old, and it's not even what I believe, it's true. It's very different. And so it's important to ask your child or whoever you're trying to talk to what their definition of leadership is, because without a basis, you don't know what you are teaching them. it might be a little bit confusing for them. If they have a whole wrong definition and you're trying to add on to it and correct it, but you don't know exactly what they're thinking, it's a little bit hard. So communication is really key, and talking about what they think it is, which I have some perfect discussion topics for different ages in a little bit, but just talking is very important. Next, I wrote about what it is and why it's important, just to clarify for the reader and make it really clear what I'm trying to get across. Again, I'll read it, but take it with a grain of salt because everyone's different and can have different meanings for everything. But this is what I got from my experience and what I know. It was also a little bit too long for the slide, so I'm just going to read it off of my script. But if you want to see it or read it for yourself, you can go to Apple Books. Being a leader is very important for a variety of situations, especially for children. Having the ability to lead can help with standing up for yourself, like speaking out if someone is being bullied or standing up for others by supporting a friend who feels left out. Teaching children leadership is important because it helps them build confidence, make good decisions, work well with others during group projects or team sports, and take responsibilities for their actions, such as admitting mistakes and finding solutions. How do we teach it? In the book, for every single chapter, I curated a list of discussion topics and questions to discuss with different age ranges. So I split it up between 3 to 6 year olds, 7 to 12 year olds, and 13 and older. I highly recommend finding a time to sit down with the child you're trying to talk to and talk about this, because like I said before, you don't know what they're thinking. You don't know if they have a whole different definition than what you are thinking as an adult. So it's important to just talk to them, understand first what they're thinking, then alter it and build upon it, and not fully change it, because I'm sure they are right in some sense, because everyone has a different definition for it. Nothing's exact, nothing's perfect, but make sure to tailor it to what it actually is and help them understand how they can show it. Not just teach it, but how they can show it. So for ages 3 to 6, it's important to share and talk. Sharing, and this is one of the kind of activities and talking activities to do. So for 3 to 6 year olds, sharing and taking turns as a leader. How can sharing help you be a good leader? What does a leader do when it's someone else's turn? These are good questions to ask. Listen carefully like a leader. Why is listening important for a leader? How can you show others you care by listening? Helping others like a leader. How does a leader help friends when they need it? Can you think of a time you helped someone? Using kind words to lead. How do kind words help people follow you? What kind words can you say to encourage friends? I like bringing up situations in their life, even if they can't specifically remember it. I'm sure there's a vague time that they maybe let a friend borrow a pencil or something of theirs, and it's something simple that they can connect to their real life and be like, wow, I was a leader. Now I know how to be a leader in the future, and how to show other people that I'm a leader. So for 7 to 12 year olds, taking initiative. What does it mean to take initiative? Can you think of a time you started something without being asked? Another time of bringing in their real life, bring in things that they have done before. Make them say, I was a leader. I can do it again. I have what it takes to be a leader. Everyone does. And help them understand that. Communicating clearly. Why is clear communication important for a leader? How do you make sure others understand your ideas? Being responsible. What responsibilities can a leader have? How do you show you're responsible at school or home? So those were for 7 to 12 year olds. I didn't specifically list 13 or older, but there's a few listed in in the book, and you can always take some of the ones that I've just shared and alter it a little bit. So maybe, how do you show you're responsible at school or home? That can be asked the same way. What responsibilities can a leader have? Same way, but maybe a little altered, you know? Okay. So how, this is under how to teach it again, but how to encourage and foster it. So not just telling them, but now they're putting it into perspective, they're changing their perspective and learning how to show it, how to take it on, which is super important and one of my favorite categories, subcategories in each chapter to write about, because this is the true thing that they're taking away from it. Not just that you're telling them, you're talking to them, that's very important, but now they are doing it. So first, team puzzle challenge. Give each group a puzzle. This is more for group setting, clearly. Give each group a puzzle with missing pieces and have them collaborate with each team to complete theirs, promoting communication and cooperation. Follow the leader remix. Rotate leadership so each child gets a chance to lead with their own twist. So take turns doing a silly walk or doing a special dance move. Yeah. Build a tower. Use marshmallows and spaghetti or similar materials to build the tallest freestanding tower, encouraging teamwork and problem solving. Leadership role play. Assign real life scenarios, for example, resolving a conflict, organizing a group project, and let kids act as leaders to handle the situation. I had a specific game when I was younger. We would all sit in a circle, and one person would turn around, and we would assign one person as the leader. And when the person turned around, we'd all point, say, "You're the leader," and the leader would start clapping or doing a certain move, and everyone would follow. And the person in the corner, not looking, would turn around and try to guess who the leader was. And the leader would switch up their movement. So they would first do like claps, and then they would move to tapping their head. And they would try to figure out who the leader was. And it's not really a teaching that much leadership, but I think it's a fun game to play to get in the mindset of what is a leader? Why were they considered a leader? What is a leader? And so it could be good to get like a nice starting point, and it's a fun game that I've always enjoyed, at least. Next, if you have watched my other videos, you'll know that I was able to put pictures in. For this slideshow is a little different, so I'm sorry for the inability to upload the pictures, like the images, but I listed a few books here that can teach children about leadership. Excuse me. So these are books I curated from my community. I've asked around, done polls, and seen what people have given their children or their class to teach them about leadership, and just some suggestions from the internet. So first we have What Do You Do with a Problem by Kobe Yamada. I Can Be a Leader by Elsie Gravel. I Am a Leader, a 90-day leadership journal for kids by Peter J. Liang. The Energy Bus for Kids by John Gordon. And these are just a few examples. There are so many more. If you just take one of these, maybe you've read I Can Be a Leader by Elise Gravel. Search that up, say books like this, or books that talk about leadership, or really anything, but in this case I'm talking about leadership. So you can find anything. Personally, not all of these books are geared towards the same age range. That's why it's important to do your own research as well. But some of these are chapter books, some of these are picture books. So it's very important, excuse me, I'm very sorry, to look online first and see if this is appropriate for your child. And yes, so I have read a few of these books, and they have been very changing for me in terms of learning to be a leader. Next, I have a few websites that I have listed that I found online by doing some research that give you some worksheets, games, talks about it. Like sometimes there's blogs or articles about it that are interesting to read about and can be helpful for anyone. So first we have kidpreneurs.org, National Youth Leadership Council.org. Then we have hobby.org, Hugh O'Brien Youth Leadership. Then we have playmeo.com, experimental group games and activities, which is very helpful, especially if you're a school teacher. Then games are the way to go to get at least the ball rolling in a good direction. Next, my personal favorite part, not to be a little bit biased, but this is kind of the highlight of each chapter for me because this is what makes it special. I get to talk a little bit more about how I really feel and why I feel it. Every chapter is different, so sometimes I'll talk about a specific situation, sometimes I'll just talk about what it means to me. And so it's really, you don't know what you're going to get, but in a really good way and in a way that you're going to learn more about the mind of how children learn it, especially as they grow up, because I am a teenager. So as I grew up, my definition for things have changed. And it's important to see that and seeing it how you're at the age of your child is, or whatever child it is. Okay. So my thoughts of leadership and other personal thoughts. This past summer, I went to a camp that taught me how to be a leader. We talked to kids and got to take charge while also being responsible and having fun. At first, it was a big responsibility and a little scary to think about. But after about a week, it became a great experience. To be a leader, you need to be a role model and show younger people the right way to act. Many people think being a leader means being bossy and loud, but that is not true at all. I'm a relatively quiet person, but I can still take authority. It all starts with respect. By gaining their trust through respect, you show that you are someone worth following and responsible enough to guide them the right way. My question is, why do people follow a leader even when they know it's the wrong path? My answer is that the leader holds some kind of authority over them. People continue to follow someone going down the wrong path because they believe the person is leading them the right way. Usually this trust is established early on, which is why some kids end up following the wrong path or hanging out with the wrong group. The kids hold authority over them, whether through bullying or simply the desire to fit in and be liked by them. And those were my brief, simple, personal thoughts about leadership. So let's talk a little bit about the writing process and what that was like for me. So, how long? This can be answered this can be a broad question. It's how long, so I'll answer it in different categories. So how long is the right length for your book? Let's ask that first, because there's a lot of how longs. It depends how long your book, what the type of book is. If you're trying to write a chapter book, you're looking more towards 500 maybe pages. If you're writing it for little children, maybe 10 pages, 15 pages. If you're writing a smaller chapter book for young adults, 150 pages, 200, it really depends on what you're writing. For me personally, I think mine's about 70, 80 pages long, which I think is a good length, especially for a book that you're skipping around in. You can really make those books any length, but you want to make it like a manageable length. Not too long, but the right amount where they can still pick it up and be able to skip through without being so overwhelmed by words. So how long did it take me to write the book? I'll ask that next. It took me from the start of the idea that came into my brain to actually publishing it took me about a year and a half to 2 years. It was very slow in the middle, trying to write those pages, and sometimes you even feel pressure, and you're like, I have to write more, like, I gotta get it out at a certain time. Like, you don't. Like, unless you have a certain strict deadline, like, try to be easy with it, let it naturally flow. Don't be too hard on yourself, because then that's how it gets messy. It might not be your best work when it can be your best work. So definitely let it just flow with whatever time you need. I know I am busy over the summers. I take my mind off of everything, and sometimes it's good to do that. Maybe just go on vacation, take a weekend off, take your mind away from it, and that's why it takes me longer, but that is like the time, that's how long it did take me to write it. How long did it take me to get published? I can talk about more on the publishing process, but I'm going to say about half a month, so about 2 weeks. Very, very simple, very easy. I loved Apple Books. Talk about that in the publishing process, though. Next, others' opinions. I don't really know that many how long questions, so others' opinions. This is really important. It might not sound like a lot, but getting help from your community, people you know, just talking to others means a lot. It does. I have had my family to rely on to talk to. I've put out polls to my community, to the Girl Scout community, to my where I live community, and just getting support, knowing whether do they need this? Is there a demand for this type of book? Like, is there a demand for cooking books? Should I put out a cooking book? Put out a poll. Say, how many, like, do you guys want to learn recipes about Mexican food or something specific that you're trying to write your book about? And if they're saying, no, I think there's too many, then don't write it. Or try to convince them. Maybe say, no, I think they should. But it's always important to get others' opinions. Throughout my book, you've seen that I've written about others' opinions a lot of different definitions. And for me, it was a big part of my book. I loved that part. I thought it was very original and made it different. And so I definitely saw that by talking to others and getting those ideas flowing, like brainstorming. So I also want to say that these chapters, these eight characteristics that I chose, were on purpose. I have chosen these 8 because of a survey I've put out that asked parents. It had a few questions. It was, what characteristics do you think are most important to teach children? What are you? Are you a teacher? Are you a parent? Are you a Girl Scout troop leader? And I got a variety of different answers. And it was very important to me to get a variety, because I didn't want just parents responding saying, oh, well, they need to learn leadership or something. Well, then now I know all parents want their kids to learn leadership. Do I know that teachers actually want their kids to learn about honesty? Like, you want to have a variety, not just one thing. So lean on others as much as you can. That's my main thing here. It's just really having someone's really important. And even when you are writing, because of how taxing it is on you, and the pressure you might be under in some way or another, it's important to lean on other people. Just for taking a break, taking a second, talking, is important. Getting the word across. For me, I am here making videos, but you can do social media. I've seen many people post their videos on TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, or not Snapchat, well, sometimes, if you want to go directly to your friends. But Yeah, definitely TikTok and Instagram. Those are big ones. Facebook even. Just say, hey, check this out if you have a second or two. Really appreciate it. Maybe spread the word across if you know someone who has children, or if you know someone who wants to learn how to cook Mexican food. In my new cookbook, it's really good for anything, even if you're not writing a book. But just getting the word across, really important. Social media is a good way. Making videos are a good way. Um, some sort of advertisement if you do feel that if your book is worth money and you want it to be um, perceived that way. But another great way is word of mouth. It's simple, but it does work. By telling my mom personally that I have a new book, can you, well, in addition to me posting on my Facebook, can you post on your Facebook? Let your troop leader, friends, or whoever, let them know. And maybe they will let their friends know or let their colleagues know. And it just spirals on to, wow, now everyone knows and it's all out there. Not everyone will be reached, but that's also why you have the internet. In some way or another, any form, social media, videos, some way or another, it will get out there. So you just need to make sure it does. Even putting it out in your local library, those are great places, especially for parents. There's a lot of parents there. Flyers just outside, those get seen. You don't know who'll see it, who wants that. So getting the word across, very important. Next, publishing process. I have a thing for Apple Pages. I wrote my entire book on Apple Pages, and it was phenomenal. I started about, again, a year and a half ago by writing in my free time on my phone when I had time in between classes and off periods, and just writing my book. Um, it would it would be on my phone. I didn't have time to take out my laptop all the time, and so I would write it on my phone, and it worked. And when I got my laptop and I was able to open it up, it transferred perfectly, and it was the way I want it to be, the way that it looked like a book, and it looked like it was. Once I add a few more pages, it was ready to be published. And that's what I love about Apple Pages. It doesn't make it nice. It doesn't make it messy. It makes it nice and neat. It makes it presentable. And the fun thing about it is that it's not just for being published to Apple Books. It can just be, you can just make it there, get a PDF, and it's free. It's free. You just get the PDF, and that's all you want. If you want to put it on Apple Books, that is also free. If you are making it a free book. For me, so I'll tell you, when I made it into a book on Apple Books, all I did was I put the whole book, finished it all up, proofread all of it, fixed all grammar that I needed to, proofread it again, then I pressed publish. It doesn't mean it's directly published, it just means it's on its way to being published. So you download your PDF of the whole entire book, all 100 pages, whatever pages. You download that. You download a cover page photo, and you download a little another I think a little excerpt. So the first 15 pages. So maybe the little introduction. That's what I did. And then you go onto a separate site, which is Apple Books. It takes you directly there through, I think, Safari, and you sign up for a Apple iTunes account, I believe, or something, iConnect or something. And you basically say, I want to publish a book. And then it asks you, do you want to pay, or do you want people to pay for this, or do you want it to be free? I selected price 0. So I'm not exactly sure the process for getting a paid book. So if you do want to just get a free, if you want to do what I'm doing and make it free, then it will be very simple. So you just press that, you upload it, all 3 things, and then you wait for that to get approved. That takes about a day, and then it takes another about 72 hours to get it approved on all these sites. So it first get you approved in America on all those sites, then Canada, and so on, all the countries that have Apple Books, because it's different in every country. And then immediately after that, once it was published, I actually accidentally published it twice and had to go to the email customer support and say, hey, I accidentally put it up twice. There's no help button that says I published it twice. I need help. And they were excellent and got back to me right away and said, hey, just removed it. It should show up for you in about a day. And that's good. And when it was still 2 out, some people got confused and downloaded just one, and then that was deleted once it was removed by Apple, and all of the people who downloaded it got redirected to my new one, which was perfect. So, highly recommend it if you are willing to, if you do want to write it for free. If you want to get it for money, again, I'm not 100% on the process there. So that was a little bit brief-ish, maybe 15 minutes of me talking about the writing process. If you do want to write more, if you want to know more, you can email me, of course. But I am not an expert. So if you do want to know more, I'd highly recommend looking it up and looking from videos or something of experts who have published it before. Specifically if you have any questions, but it's very straightforward, I will say. But the writing process, I still don't really consider myself an author because many reasons, but this is just my experience, and if it helps someone, then I'm doing the right thing. So hopefully that helped a little bit. Okay, next I want to talk about Girl Scouts and my Gold Award and Gold Award information in general. So I have talked about through this entire webinar how much I adore Girl Scouts. It is something that I strive to be looked at in a good way by, if that makes sense. I always strive to use the Girl Scout way and lead in my life like that. So I really just I have something for Girl Scouts that I love, and I've grown up in it. I am fortunate enough to have great troop leaders who have guided me and my troop to success. They have walked us to water, and we drank the water, and we decided to take as much as we can from it. At least me, I have, and so throughout Girl Scouts, I can do I can't get into it right now of everything of Girl Scouts because there is a lot. But briefly, you learn different traits, not traits, but you learn different things like leadership, empathy, kindness, everything like that. And then you learn skills like first aid, sewing. There's so many more. Being an artist, being an entrepreneur, being looking at stocks, looking at digital art, looking at influencers, social media, so much. We looked at so much, and it really ranges, and it's more than just selling cookies at a cookie stand and wearing a vest. It's about showing these ideas that they want us to show as a Girl Scout, and I've taken a lot away from it, and it's one of my favorite, and something that I've never regretted doing, even though I've done it for many years. I've never regretted it. For my Gold Award specifically, it's a long process. For me, I earned my Gold and Silver Award, and I think a journey or two. I'm not 100%. I'm not an expert on this. I'm just sharing a little bit about what I'm doing, but it's all led me to where I am now. So I'm not an expert. I highly recommend, if you are interested, then going to your local council or looking online. But again, just sharing what I'm doing. So I am writing this book, making videos. Hopefully, I will in the future be making live videos, and it will only progress. And my whole point, what a gold award is you're taking everything that you learned from Girl Scouts, from your bronze award, silver award, all the patches you've earned, all the journeys you've done, the trips you went on, everything. You take that all in, and now you give it back, and you say, here's everything I learned. I'm going to put it into the world, my best foot, and show what I have learned. And that's what I'm doing. And there's so many different ideas you can do too. I think my friends have done recipe books for allergies, something that they're passionate about, and they're taking stuff that they've learned from Girl Scouts, like how to not write a book, but like how to be a leader, how to advocate for yourself, how to teach this, and taking all of the stuff we've learned and just applying it. And that's what I love about Girl Scouts and my Gold Award specifically. So that was a little bit about Girl Scouts. I don't want to share too much because I'm not an expert by any means and don't want to speak wrongly about it. So I just highly recommend looking into it yourself and looking into going to your local council if you have children who want to participate. Next, I have question time. So I have put together 10 questions that I have heard, seen, been asked. I am asking it to help you guys just learn a little bit more. If you didn't know about it or if you wanted to know about it, I just put it down here. So I just put down about, I think there's 10 questions. So first, what is leadership? I hope we know a little bit more after everything that I just read, but if we don't, it is the ability to guide, inspire, and support others towards a common goal. It's not just about telling people what to do, but about setting an example, encouraging teamwork, and helping others succeed while working towards something together. So that's like a full definition, even though I said a definition earlier. Can children be leaders? Of course they can. Children can be leaders in many ways. They may take initiative in school groups, school group projects, help classmates understand instructions, or show responsibility by being a role model. Leadership in children is often seen in small actions, like including others in play, or standing up for others who feel left out. But just because they're small does not mean that they cannot show leadership at all. Why is leadership important for children? Leadership is important because it helps children build life skills such as confidence, communication, and decision making. Learning to lead teaches them responsibility and shows them how to motivate others in a positive way. These skills carry over to school, friendships, and later in their careers. Again, another reason why I love leadership, because it ties into all these ideas. And honestly, if you go through the 8 main characteristics that I've chosen, they all intertwine. Kindness, for example, to be kind, not always, or really the opposite, to be a leader, not always, but a lot of the time you are kind. Or to show sympathy or empathy, you need to be kind. You do. To show empathy specifically, you need to be kind. And you need to be a leader, and they all intertwine in some way, especially leadership. How can parents encourage leadership in children? Again, I really hope you have taken away that from what I've taught. There's so many resources that I just said that you can encourage leadership in children. But to quickly answer it, because you may be wondering, and in one small place, I'll just say it here now. Parents can encourage leadership by giving their children opportunities to make choices, solve problems, and take on small responsibilities at home. Listening to their ideas, letting them organize activities, and praising their efforts rather than just an outcome helps children feel capable and trusted. And again, books, workbooks, worksheets, fun activities, all, again, help them feel like a leader. And again, specifically connecting it to their real life and saying that you are a leader. You've shown leadership traits, and now it's time to put it all together and understand why you are the leader. What is the difference between being a boss and a leader? This is a big question, and it can be often mixed up. And sometimes they are being bossy. but they are also being a leader, and sometimes it intertwines. So being a boss means giving orders and expecting others to follow, while being a leader means working alongside others and guiding them with respect. A boss focuses on control, but a true leader inspires, encourages, and makes people want to do their best. And I think it's really important to understand that, because a lot of times it gets mixed up, and sometimes it's for the right reasons, because sometimes leaders are being bossy, or they think they're being a leader, but they are just being bossy. And it's important to also understand that and help your children see that sometimes it's not do this, it's more, I'm going to do it with you, and I'm going to help you do your best by maybe stepping up a little bit more, but not in a demanding kind of way. What role does kindness play in leadership? Kindness is a core part of good leadership because it helps build trust and respect. A leader who listens, shows empathy, and treats others fairly creates a positive environment where people feel safe and motivated. Children who lead with kindness often bring out the best in their peers. Can shy children be leaders? Absolutely. I'm shy myself, and I would consider myself a leader. Leadership doesn't always mean being loud or being in charge in a big group. Shy children can lead by setting examples through their actions, by showing kindness, creativity, responsibility. They may be quiet. They might quietly inspire others by working hard, helping friends, or sharing thoughtful ideas. And I have one more. How do mistakes help children become better leaders? And this is kind of more of a statement too. Mistakes help children become better leaders. So it's important to look at it both ways. But mistakes are valuable because they teach children resilience and problem solving. When kids make mistakes and reflect on what went wrong, they can learn to adjust and try again. This helps them be more patient, understanding, and willing to support others who struggle too. So I read 8 questions, so about 10. I'm just running a bit out of time, but that was the basic questions. The other ones are very self-explanatory in some way because I've explained them a lot. So, yeah. And last, I want to say thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting my book and my videos, and I really hope you learned something more about me and about my book. If you do want to learn about another trait, I highly suggest you watch the video if there is one, and if not, to look on Apple Books and find the book. You can find it under the go-to guide to empowering our youth. Thank you so much again. See you in the next video.